you tell us where you were on the day Victoria Cafasso was murdered?
Roman Hassel is a doctor, an obstetrician, and a suspect in one of this country's most savage murders.
You're not really very brave, are you?
I think the police station is here. Yep.
You think the police station is here?
Yep.
Dr. Hassel has been in hiding.
Let's go.
Let's talk to the police about the
Don't
murder.
touch me.
Let's talk to the police. You're getting angry.
It's not the first time he's been investigated for murder, but finally his violent past may be about to catch up with him.
Is there a knife in that bag?
The more you delve into the life of Roman Hassel, the darker it gets. Our search for answers has brought us here to the tiny fishing village of St Helens in Tasmania, scene of one of Australia's most notorious unsolved murders. 13 years ago, a young Italian woman was savagely stabbed to death on a local beach. And in the investigation that followed, a series of clues leading to Dr. Hassel were either missed or somehow overlooked. Now, for the first time, you'll hear the evidence and see why Dr. Hassel has some serious explaining to do.
Victoria Cafasso was just 20 when she was cut to pieces in a frenzied attack.
I said, "Did you kill this girl? Did you kill Victoria Cafasso?" And his reply to me was, "Maybe I did. I don't recall. I don't remember."
Maybe I did.
Yes.
Sally was married to Roman Hassel for more than 10 years.
Every day I was with Roman. From that point on, I asked myself, am I living with a murderer?
But Sally wasn't the first woman to have fallen for Hassel's charm, only to find herself in fear of her life.
He just pulled from behind him the knife and he held it up like that and he said, you know I can kill you.
Rose Harlan met Roman Hassel just after he arrived from Slovakia in 1993. She was swept off her feet by the handsome doctor, who said he'd been a hospital director of obstetrics and gynecology. They were married later that year.
You look back at so many things that I hadn't picked up because I'd been so charmed, so totally charmed.
But soon the charming facade began to slip, and Hassel began to reveal a deep loathing of the women he was supposed to care for.
Even like in the subway, he would point out to me a woman was pregnant and he'd say, "There's a dog having another dog."
A short time later, the couple moved to Singapore. Hassel, unemployed, began stealing money from Rose, and his behaviour became even more bizarre.
The nooses were being left on the bedside table. And I said, "Oh, what is this?" And he said, "Oh, you know, I always carry a rope and a knife with me."
One day when Rose arrived home, Hassel was waiting for her in the shadows.
He just pulled from behind him the knife. And the knife, it was a very long carving knife. And he held it up like that and he said, you know I can kill you and cut you up into little pieces and nobody will ever find you. And I'll sell your ovaries on the black market.
Hassel was jailed for a month, and Rose never saw him again. Upon his release, instead of being sent back to Slovakia, he was deported to Australia. Despite failing the specialist entrance exam no less than 4 times, the good doctor was accepted into a string of prize hospital jobs in obstetrics and gynecology. The perfect place for him to indulge his hatred of women.
He's just wiped me with a cloth like that, said, "Spread your legs, woman, we need to clean this mess up." And I just froze. Anyway, he just started stitching. No local, no gas, no nothing. Come on, Seb, you come and show us how we play this.
Connie Scholl will never forget the birth of her first child in Lismore Hospital.
When he started stitching me with no pain relief, my instant reaction was just to kick him, and I met with his jaw and he flew across the room.
You kicked him?
Yeah.
Almost like an involuntary
It
act.
was a reflex of pain. And he stalked back to the end of the bed, and as he did, he roared at the staff, "Stirrup the bitch!" And it was so loud I shook, and the whole time he was slandering me, saying, "You stupid Australian women don't know how to have babies. You stupid slut, you stupid whore, you bitch, you foul bitch, you dirty bitch."
He called you a slut.
All sorts of names.
And if you think that's unbelievable, Connie wasn't on her own. As we've delved deeper, more and more of Hassel's patients have come forward to paint a picture of a man they describe as a sociopath with a vendetta against women.
He's an abusive man who likes to degrade women physically and emotionally. It reminds me of a rapist.
He's just a brutal, violent, aggressive man that I also think gets pleasure out of harming women.
There are dozens of others just like them. A caesarean performed by Hassel with such violence the baby's leg was broken. A woman who says she could feel the scalpel cutting through her flesh as Hassel ignored her screams.
Have you ever called a female patient a slut or a whore? Why do you stitch women up without anaesthetic? Did you get some sort of perverse enjoyment out of it?
But if Roman Hassel's professional behaviour was appalling, his secret private life was downright sinister.
Being strangled, kicked, hair pulled, punched.
Sally Hassel met her future husband in Tasmania, soon after he was deported from Singapore. And like Rose Harlan before her, she quickly discovered his obsessions.
He always had an obsession with knives. He kept a collection of like flip knives.
Sally met Roman in Tasmania just days after the murder of Victoria Cafasso. The young Italian backpacker had been viciously bludgeoned and stabbed to death on Beaumaris Beach, not far from where Hassel was living. A crime for which he would soon become a prime suspect.
This is a spot where Victoria Cafasso was last seen.
I covered the murder of Victoria Cafasso in 1995. And even today, it's impossible to forget the images of her grief-stricken parents appealing for help in finding the killer.
I'd hate another parent to be in my situation again tomorrow because someone just didn't say something.
Victoria Cafasso had only been here for 5 days when she decided to pack her towel and bathers, head down across the road and onto this beach to soak up some sun. But there was someone else on the beach that day too. Someone armed with a knife and a deep hatred of women. We know from the way the sand was disturbed and her possessions scattered that she fought for her life. But this was a frenzied attack. Quite frankly, she didn't stand a chance. Victoria was stabbed more than 20 times.
The poor woman was almost scalped.
For Detective Bob Code, now retired, it was always going to be a tough case.
The cruel aspect was that being on the beach and with the water and the wind, that just forensically and scientifically, no evidence was obtained.
And no one heard her scream?
No one heard her scream at all.
What exactly are you looking for at the moment?
Trying to find missing teeth at the moment, just to get as many of the parts back as we can.
The only real lead, a white hire car seen near the beach. And without the physical evidence, the police investigation went nowhere. For 2 years, the trail went cold. Then, a local service station owner named Rod Blunt reminded police of a man he'd seen walking in the days before the murder. A man who pulled into his garage in a white hire car the day after the murder.
I'd seen him 2 mornings and he was okay, and the third morning he had a scratch on his lip, top lip.
And what had happened in between the second morning and the third morning?
Well, that girl got killed.
How big was the scratch on his lip?
Like that.
Was
2 or 3 fingers wide, was it?
Yeah.
Just have a look at that for me, Rod. See if that face rings any bells.
Yeah, I reckon that's it that I saw.
That's him.
Yeah.
I definitely saw scratches on his face. I saw what appeared to me to be 3 fingernail marks down his left side of his face.
And that was when you first met him?
That was when I first met him, and they were marks that were healing. They weren't fresh, but they were definitely healing.
And that was 2 weeks after?
10 days, 2 weeks after the murder.
But the police didn't question Hassel until 2 years after the murder.
What did you make of Roman Hassel?
I've got to say that that I believed he was hiding something.
Roman Hassel has always denied any involvement in Victoria's death. He told police he'd never been to Beaumaris Beach, never even heard of it. But as his ex-wife Rose Harlan now reveals, that wasn't true.
The beach we used to stop at was a beach on the way from St Helens to Launceston at Beaumaris.
That was his favourite beach?
Yes.
That was the beach where Victoria Cafasso was killed?
It was definitely, he loved that beach because it was so, he said it was so bleak and unspoiled and without people on it.
So where was Roman Hassel on the day Victoria Cafasso was killed? He says he was here, 8 kilometres away, at home, alone. An alibi that's now being challenged. Karen Busby was driving her dad home that day. As she slowed to turn into their driveway, immediately opposite the beach from the murder scene, she saw something that has haunted her for 13 years.
We slowed down here at the driveway, and as we slowed down, a man stepped out of the bushes and he panicked. It was like he didn't know whether to go back into the bushes or to keep walking. And
You saw a bit of indecision on his face, did you?
yeah, there was panic on his face.
Can I show you some photographs and see if it jogs any memories?
Okay. That looks like the face that turned and looked at me. I saw him, he saw me.
This one and this one looks like
Yeah,
the face you saw that day.
yes.
Well, they're both the same man. That's Roman Hassel.
Of course, 13 years is a long time, and memory can play tricks. But only months ago, Roman Hassel gave his version of the story to his most recent partner, girlfriend Sally Hock, and it contained a bombshell.
He said that he'd been interviewed for a murder, and he told me it was because he was on the beach that morning.
So he admitted to you that he was on the beach the morning she was stabbed to death?
Yes.
Sally Hock's relationship with Hassel ended sooner than most, after she became frightened by his bizarre obsession.
What he did is separate the knives out, and he wrapped them up and hid them in a toolbox downstairs, which I noticed and thought it was very strange.
Roman Hassel is clearly an unlucky man. Bad things just keep happening when he's around. Like the murder of Ludmila Servanova, a young medical student in Slovakia in 1976.
He was at a party with a group of other medical students, and a girl at that party had been murdered. He just thought it was really funny about how he had been investigated for that murder as well as the Victoria Cafasso murder.
He thought it was funny?
He did, he thought it was funny.
But he didn't seem to think it was funny at the time. Just days after the murder of Victoria Cafasso, he left this small Tasmanian town in a big hurry.
Leaving everything that was personal, plus things that he never travelled without, were all just left there, strewn around, yes.
Well, so it looked as though he just dropped everything and
As
ran?
if he just walked out the door and run, yes.
We've now learnt that not only did Hassel hire a white car for the 24 hours surrounding the Cafasso murder, but a previously undisclosed report from the hire company details an unusual amount of beach sand found on the driver's seat and in the footwell.
How did you manage to get so much beach sand in your car on the day of that murder?
The police would welcome any new leads in their murder investigation. But for the moment, Roman Hassel isn't talking. Not about the patients he's butchered, not about the women he's terrified and humiliated, and definitely not about the unsolved murder of Victoria Cafasso.
Hello,